If we go right back, way before automation, where did you live? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I grew up on the farm. I was quite happy to go in there and sweep the floor. I got involved in a project that was over in Saudi Arabia for Aramco. It was automated warehousing all over the world. And then we did a monsoon test facility for Rolls-Royce, the Matrix Churchill Iraqi gun thing.
If we just pause the career there.
We built a monsoon test facility for Mercedes McLaren, and it was microwaving rock to find copper. Well, I was hoping you were going to crumble that day, then I could have stepped in and told everybody about six-step quasi. Anyway.
Hi, I'm Tom Flude and I'm a co-founder of Engineers Insight. I'm sat here today with Mike Sharp. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Do you want to introduce yourself, tell the viewers where you work?
Well, good afternoon. My name is Mike Sharp. I'm the Sales Technical Director for Automation Robotics. We're a small company at the moment in Bingham, near Nottingham, and we get involved in anything from a conveyor control system in a factory all the way up to a full-blown robotic automation system. And that can be something that's off the shelf, quite simple to put together, to a full development that's taken a number of years.
Okay.
Some of the things we've got going on at the moment are development for the food industry, and one for the plastics industry. We've actually got, we're working with, in conjunction with Nottingham University, and we're generating an AI platform to model components that need to be built before you actually start to build them. So you'll understand the amount of medium that goes in there, the amount of process time and the heats and everything else. So it would reduce the time that it would be in production.
Okay. Interesting stuff going on there.
Just a few things, yeah, amongst many.
Okay, so if we go right back, way before automation, where did you live? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, actually, I had a very fortunate upbringing. My family are very business orientated, and it was in an area that I thought would never be aligned with what I wanted to do, because I was into electronics. I went to do computer science at college, but I grew up on the farm essentially, and all my family were either into farming or selling equipment to farmers. And they're actually very, very successful. It came from my grandfather, and now they're the largest supplier in the UK, bar none, and part of Europe, of AGCO, which is Massey Ferguson.
Okay.
So big equipment, all up and down the UK. So I've always had this kind of, there's always been like the homegrown business sense within my family. So, but I wanted to do my thing and break away from the rest of the family, who are mostly employed at the company, and do my own thing. So
that was going to be my follow-on. Like, was you not tempted to just follow the tradition, or you're driven to be your own person?
My grandfather, he went away from his from the background of his family and the farm, and started the business distribution, so sort of farm equipment. So I think I kind of follow in his path, really doing my own thing. But yes, it was always attractive, and I was always fortunate enough to be asked, and I would probably have worked there, earned more money, and had a better car, and have no square eyes. But hey ho, that happened. But no, I've had a good life within automation so far, and it's been a trip, some of it. But I was fortunate enough to finish college. And in my area, there was a few companies that went around to look at, and there's a company called Welding Machines Automated. And knocked on the door. I was quite happy to go in there and sweep the floor, do anything they wanted to do. And looking around, after 5 minutes, there was robots, welding automation systems, ABB, Zire ABB systems, and that was back in 1988, embarrassingly, a long while ago. So. They just wanted someone keen, and I was. And I've started, and within about a month, I was wiring control systems, and then I went to program control systems on a very small PC at the time, barely a PC, and then that took me into getting involved with Robots, which is Osaka Transformer Company, which is a Japanese producer of weld sets, but also they were heavily into welding. So I thought everybody in automation had a robotic background because of that. The company was run eventually by a guy that was involved with the Matrix Churchill Iraqi gun thing. So it was quite an interesting political side to it as well. So good company to work for.
If we just pause the career there, we just finish on the age where you're around college. Did you work in the family business at that point, or did you have other part-time jobs?
I did actually work in the family business as well, part-time. That was like a weekend or whatever.
How was it working with the family?
It's interesting because at that time they said that automation is the future, which I thought it was at that point in the UK, and it did sound, robots and everything, but I think people see the nicety and the fascination of robots. I've always been in industry that is involved with the motor industry, not necessarily across the rest of the food producing and all the rest of the things that it should be, as it is in most other countries in the UK. Sorry, in Europe, not the UK.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it was. They thought it was the way to go, and it was a good industry rather than any other industry. It was interesting. It was seen as half intellectual, and quite a challenge, and it has been.
So, you leave college in 1990. Around that time.
Yeah, roughly.
Early 90s.
2000.
At some point, you work for Omron.
I left the welding company. They had a bit of a lull, and I started working at a company that was part of Trafalgar House, and it was automated warehousing all over the world. And I just bought a house at the time, so I was keen to go anywhere and earn money. So I got involved in a project that was over in Saudi Arabia for Aramco. Which you've probably seen on F1 now. Aramco's quite up there. But it was Aramco town or village, and it was automated warehousing for oil pipe storage. So at the time, oil pipes were left in the desert and they work hardened, so when they were put back into the line, they actually burst after a short period of time, losing millions. So a nice automated store is quite cheap. And they put them all in a cassette storage. So that involved me for about, 2 years of my life, and nicely paid for a house and a car. Yep. So that was worthwhile. So I learned very quickly that automation can be useful.
Okay. So is it after Saudi that you worked for Omron?
I then went to work for a company, a small company that I was a manager of, that predominantly did control panels for waterboard and for England Water and for the food industry. So that taught me a lot about different demographics from the water to the food industry and what people wanted, where money was available. Definitely available for the water and definitely available in the food industries. And the petrochem as well. So I worked there for about 3 years, and I was actually working with a number of components that used Omron equipment. And one of the guys came around from Omron one day and said, all right, you know about the kit? You seem to be like in the sales kind of thing. So that took me into negotiations with Omron initially as a business development manager in their OEM group.
Okay.
For servos and for vision.
Right.
That was 1997.
Okay, and then 99, you took the leap to build Pelican?
Late 1999, yeah, there was a gentleman who was ex-David Smith Packaging in Coventry, and he wanted 2 machines building that he'd conceptually made for Bridvik. That was a bag in a box for concentrate. So concentrated orange juice or whatever underneath a bar. So he needed somebody to kind of technically head that up. So he said, so stop messing around as being a salesman and technically come and have a look at this. So I thought, well, that's a good idea, but we'll see how that goes. And then I also was working with a company in Northampton that made autoclaves. And that was also developing on-run equipment. And he wanted to develop the next phase in-house, and his technical guy just left. So it was on twofold, started a company, and straight away there was a business there by doing something technically.
Okay.
So yeah, that was September 1999, and then that took us on to many other streams of work with cryovac air-sealed systems, doing a heat tunnel, and then we did a monsoon test facility for Rolls-Royce crew, just as they departed from BMW Group. And then, I think 2002, we built a monsoon test facility for Mercedes McLaren that was all singing, all dancing, jumping jet, water and reverse osmosis systems, silica gel dryers, and that's about as much as I can tell you about McLaren, because otherwise they'll probably want some kind of fee.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was an unbelievable project, and that was for Foster's Architects,
Okay.
who did the Millennium Bridge. So yeah, they did a lot of design there, but complete servo control system, because they didn't want to see water jets being pushed on the cars. So they had a complete, like, 2 golf posts that were taken into the roof, and then they had it blacklit so you couldn't see what was in the roof. All sorts of quite interesting and challenging automation things, but yeah, in one little area.
Yeah, I suppose you're seeing quite a lot in that period. I mean, Pelican was what, 21, 22 years running that?
Yeah.
It's a big chunk of your life. Right?
It was, yeah. As you say that now, Tom, thank you very much. Making me feel ever older. But it went quick, because every year I think I could mention some of the projects we did year on year. But I think probably the ones that I've enjoyed the most have been the highest challenging ones. And they're ones that I can't put on a website. We couldn't put them on media because they were held down by some of the development that was taken under. And it was in conjunction with Rio Tinto Corp, which is the largest mining corporation in the world, and Nottingham University and E2V. And it was microwaving rock to find copper, because there's a little calculation that takes roughly 6% of the world's energy to crack rock to find copper. So if you could find the rock that's got copper in it to start with, or something like it, you're going a long way to saving a lot of money on energy. And the way it was done is initially is to hit it with microwaves. That's about as much as I can tell you. And that warmth, you can either do one or two things. If it's warm enough, you can do thermically look at it and then sort it, or you can actually hit it so hard it cracks. And this is with big microwaves, probably up to 200 kilowatts, and that was just the starting phase. So that took about 5 years of my life.
Okay.
And that was, say, massive emerging technologies, which is online, probably without a lot of detail on there.
Yep.
But yeah, that was quite an interesting control, automation, and geographically, part of it was in Brisbane, part of it was in Nottingham, and part of it was Rio Tinto Corp. So yeah.
Okay.
Interesting times.
So we've talked about the exciting stuff, being a business owner. Let's talk about the challenges, because, like I say, 21 years is a big chunk. There must have been some real highs and real lows. Obviously, financial crash, recessions, COVID. There's all sorts of things that have happened in that time. Without, listing everything that went wrong, how did you motivate yourself to get through them challenges?
I think partly, as I think I probably alluded to initially, was I bought a house when I did that thing with outside of Pelican, and it's like, if you want to work hard enough at anything, go for it. There is something out there that can make the money to go on to the next step. When you own your own company, yes, the buck stops with you, and it is difficult sometimes financially. I think it's always the thing. But then, as the finances become to a point where it's livable, okay, you're not a millionaire, but it's all good and you're going well, and you've got a young family, the thing becomes then is time. And you end up spending your time on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, and you think, I'll just give that an hour, and it's never an hour. It's 2, 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you were probably working for a multi-corp, you wouldn't probably do that.
Turn off at 5.
Yeah, and you would shut the door on it. So actually knowing when to stop is a downside of being a company owner. But there's probably working with, say, multinationals that still do loads of hours, I'm sure. But downsides are, I think, also relationships. I did lose quite a good friend at one point, through one point in the company's moving from one point to another. And thankfully, 18 years later, I now speak to him again. So, it's also taught me things do come back. But yeah, it can be very difficult, and a lot of the time it isn't the money, it's the relationships that cause. Because you think everybody will be fine tomorrow, and you tell yourself it's going to be okay tomorrow, but a lot of people take it to heart, and they take it harder than that, and they think they've failed. Business is all about, sometimes we're failing today, and then tomorrow you get an order, and it's
everything's okay again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think some of the highs have been that I've always moved on and survived from one job to another, and in your own business, you're continually having to push hard to find the next application, the next job, the next thing to kind of feed you with, and probably make you, go on to the next steps. And nowadays, it seems to be about the media side of things, as you're doing here. Letting people know that you can actually be a solution provider to them, help them with stuff. Not that you're just going to take money off them, which you do initially, but it's a bit of a partnership and getting those, and that doesn't happen in 5 minutes.
No, it's a theme that all of the podcast guests have touched on. Relationships, you build a relationship with colleagues, with partners, suppliers, the customer. It's a skill that we know that the next generation need to have, but you're talking about a generation now that's tablets, apps, behind closed doors. That's quite a difficult thing to instill in the next generation, that actually, to succeed like you have, you rely on a network of people to support you that you've grew over time. Yeah,
it's. I've put you on the spot before in front of my employees, saying about how does this drive work? Input phase, output phase. Why is it 2 single phase? Where do you get 3 phase from a single phase drive? All those things. A lot of people coming into sales now, sales engineers, and they just don't know about the electronics. They don't understand about the fundamental things, I would say. But they think, it just works.
Yeah, but looking back when I started, I didn't know them things. I only knew them because I was willing to throw myself into the deep end to learn it. But then you're going to have hordes of new engineers come in that, like you say, won't do that. They won't throw themselves into the deep end. They'll expect it to just work, and then when someone asks them a question like you asked me that day, they won't be able to answer, or they'll crumble under the pressure of it. So it's that soft skill, isn't it, that how do we make sure the next generation are ready and they can take on challenges, and whether that's a generational thing and it just gets worse the more generations that come through. I don't know.
Well, I was hoping you were going to crumble that day, then I could have stepped in and told everybody about 6-step quasi. Anyway.
No, I think I just got good at making stuff up on the spot.
I think you answered it fairly well on the day.
So, Pelican, you obviously spun out of Pelican, or you left Pelican. What was the ending of that relationship before you started Automation Robotics?
I think this thing that came through that people think is just a nasty cold now, which was the corona thing, bat flu or whatever you like to call it, and I think it made everybody look inwardly at what they wanted to do. And I was given quite a few opportunities that I could see potentially, not this week, not this year, probably in a couple of years' time, where I wanted to go and how I wanted to really kick myself forward down the road to enjoy some of the things that I really do. And in business, you always bounce off other business partners, and my other business partner at the time, I think, probably got more of a sight on where it was a finishing. It was about where I'd like to finish, rather than I don't see that. I probably still don't see that. I want to see where I wanted to go. So I thought, well, okay, well, there's going to be a buyout situation here, because I took advice, and it was felt, no, I didn't want to sell out. So the other partner, so my advice was given to me by my peers, because I got a peer group at the time that I was involved with. He said, well, it's going to hurt, move on. And what you know, it's going to hurt financially, and if you really feel that way and you're passionate about what you do and you enjoy in automation and all these other things, then go ahead and do it. So I thought about it for about a couple of days, and I thought, well, yeah, that's what I've got to do. So yeah, it does hurt financially, but if the people that I've re-met again, that I knew before the pandemic, and now it's just a reinvigor onto where you were before, and yeah, you could still do what you did before. It's just letting people know you've got a new business and you're successful again. And to this point, we have been, but you do have growing pains, as any company does.
Yeah, well, that was the part that I was going to pick your brain on. So you obviously gain a load of experience managing a business, and then you start again. Was there anything that you sort of skipped some mistakes the second time around because you picked it up the first time?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
There's things that you put, barriers that you put in front of yourself for, like, oh, how am I going to find an accountant that'll do this, and how am I going to get that? What about my end of year tax? Wow, well, don't worry about it, go. You know, where am I going to get a car from? How am I going to finance this? You know, it's just like ignore, move on, carry on. Feature on the biggest points are getting the customer and staying with the customer, and moving on with that, and getting a good rapport with everybody. And I also found that necessarily, if you deal with people, they deal with you. It's not the company behind it. I always thought, you built this company, and it was financially, when you go and buy a lease car, the first thing is how long you've been working in this company, how long have you had it? Oh, sorry, sir, no. Oh, okay. But it's not the end of the road. There's other things you can do. But actually dealing with companies, and if they want to deal with you, they'll find a way to finance it, push it around, pay you up front, and make sure that you move on to the next step, because they trust you. Otherwise, it's okay, we'll take a punt with this other company we don't know, but financially sound, but can they do what we want to do?
Yeah.
So I did find out that this time. Big lesson though, but so hopefully in a year and 9 months or so, we're nearly 2 years, we're doing well, and some of the things that we've already achieved, I didn't think we would to this point.
Yeah, you're much further on than the first 2 years of Pelican.
Yeah, pretty much. Instead of going steady, we've pushed harder, but that has also its detriments. But it's like any business, you've got to keep moving, keep moving forward. And in the area we're in at the moment, people are slowly seeing automation as definitely of what we should do in this new world we're in. It's in the media, in the news, and as soon as anybody comes in, a new student sees a robot moving around in our works, they're like, wow. It's not new. It's a dumb animal. It can only do something that you tell it to do. Yeah. So you're the intelligent person. You're the intelligent part of the application. So that's why people see robotics as the robot will do this, that, and the other. No, it's an automation engineer that makes it do that. So it's automation first every time for me anyway.
So you mentioned students, which links nicely onto the scenario that I'm going to give you.
Okay.
So you imagine you're stood in front of a classroom of 30 engineers that are going to come into industry in the next year or so, what advice would you give them?
I would actually tell them to look at the basics, as we kind of were talking about earlier. Don't think it's all high end. If you want to program a robot, you can do that online and you'll learn very quickly. Most equipment nowadays has to be competitively good at a intuitive level. So you can get it on YouTube, a lot of that. Learn the basics, the electrical stuff, of how one thing connects to another. These things are fundaments. We did a robot training cell for Boston College, and it wasn't about programming the robot at all, none of that. The modules were all about connecting a ABB Omnicore robot to a conveyor, to a safety system, switching it on, pressing start. They were the modules. The rest of it, you can go to ABB and do a module for a day and a half or 2 days, and it will teach you how to do the fundamentals of the robot. The fundamentals, you need to look at the electrical side for things first and the mechanics side, the basics. They were the things I would work at first. If I was giving any advice to anybody, don't go on the high-end stuff.
Okay. So if we ignore technical stuff, what about the skill sets? As in, maybe the softer skills?
The hands-on stuff?
No, the things like communication or teamwork or leadership, whatever.
That is a pet hate. I've sent someone an email. This is what I get normally from an intern or a student or an apprentice that we've got at the moment. I sent them an email. Did you ring them up? Make sure they've got it. Why? I sent them an email. So, so that's another, big lesson. Face-to-face, they can't understand why face-to-face. I've never met them. Don't need to meet them. I'm just buying it. Well, somebody from Siemens came through the door the other day. I'll give you a bigger discount. We never said that on your website. It doesn't. I told you that. Yeah. That is a skill that I think probably you've got as being a salesman, and I've got, that you forget that you've got, and they don't understand why you do it.
No, there's that old adage that people buy from people. Yes, there are Amazon of the world, and click and it delivers to your house, but that's not industry.
No, and they probably wonder why you go to a show.
Yeah.
And they just think that you walk around with a bag of magazines and some paraphernalia and pens and come home. No, it's all about the face-to-face and the rapport and talking to people even on Zoom against face-to-face. The body language and everything is just, you can't write it down, can you?
No.
So that is the softer side of things that I try. Even the telephone manner is just, hi, who is it? Sorry, I can't hear you. Instead of, I didn't hear them and put the phone down. Well, that could have been a customer there. So it's, for me, it's frustrating, but it's, once they've learned, it's something that they can use anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a culture shock when they do join industry. Going from only speaking to your friends on Xbox, stuck in your room, to then you're on a shop floor with some big egos maybe sometimes, or someone breathing down your neck wanting something fixed immediately. I think it's a bit of a wake-up call to a lot of youngsters that come into
they think
industry.
5 o'clock comes, and recently we also did support. We designed and built roof light control systems for. Probably your house, Tom, you've got a nice glass roof that opens up over your kitchen, £1 million house.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And they have these in London, but it was the control system around that opening and shut it. A piece of glass that weighs probably a ton. Now, it came to 5 o'clock and this guy said, that's it, I'm going. Well, there's a guy in London and he can't shut this roof. And, there's someone's house. I think we need to support it beyond 5 o'clock or even the weekend. And there's, why?
Yeah.
That methodology sometimes takes a little bit of installing. And actually, the only way it happens is taking that person to site and they get a touchy feel and they kind of get it. That's the only way it seems to be.
Okay.
An understanding, straight in line in front of the customer.
So you've obviously built teams over the years, and then you leave Pelican, start your own company again. You start from scratch. Are there any principles that you keep in mind when you employ people? Is there anything you're looking from them? Not just, of course, they're technically good. Something that has to come across in an interview.
I think it's the will. They don't have to be technically good. It's the the wanting to, the will to.
Yeah.
And that's it, generally. And there was one guy, that I won't mention his name, but he knows who he is, and he went to go and work for B&R from Pelican. He came in the door and he had got a strong will and got a good background in electrically necessarily, but he learned an awful lot in a very short space. And his skills talking to people, his soft skills, you call them, were probably the best out of most employees have had, and that took him on.
Yeah.
That helped him, but he also then became fairly technically alright,
Don't want to big up too much on camera.
No.
KCCs. Okay. And then what's the hardest thing about managing people?
Is being hard sometimes. I think you come to work and you spend a lot of work, more time than you do at home, and it should be a good place to work. That's the place you should enjoy. But there is always a line, and I like to be seen not as a boss, as an employee, because I am. Because without them, those people within the company, how can I go forward? So
yeah, I know you never call yourself the owner or the managing director.
You have to in front of the right people, and that's it. But I am an employee, essentially.
Yep.
But and when I have a team, they are the team. They kick me for doing the wrong things as well. They probably won't say it, but I feel it. So yeah, I'd like to just grow my team bigger, but empower them as well. And when I've seen that given to anybody who understands what they're doing within the company now, it's it's great to see them. More than a monetary reward, it's when they can actually take a project through and they interface with the customer and resolve issues. And I just see it on an email. It's like, wow, that's pretty damn good. How do you pay for that? How do you incentivize that? So yeah, that for me is a kick.
Okay. Definitely. Okay. Do you consider yourself successful?
Personally? Ish. I think, yeah.
Why ish?
Ish, because I'm just on this plight at the moment of like a new life with a company and where it needs to go to. But re-involving myself with people again and growing certain sectors. And I would like to be quicker at doing that. Yes, I'm very fortunate where I've got to this point, and we are. Anybody would look at it and say we're successful. For myself, giving myself success at the moment, I would like to see it a little bit further up before I would call myself successful. But I think we are fairly, technically successful, very. Financially, getting there. Okay.
And all the success you've had over, I'm not going to put a number on the amount of years you've been in the industry.
30 plus, yeah.
All that success, how much of it would you attribute to hard work and how much to luck?
Hard work has been a large part of it, definitely. I've had a few instances when I was actually on a show stand at Omron and somebody offered me something and I turned it down. That would have been luck if I'd have not turned it down, but it might have taken me on another path. I don't know. There is luck out there, and when somebody says they've suddenly got an order and then just started with the company a short time, that's luck. Yeah. And I do see a bit of luck, but then also it wouldn't have come without the hard work behind it. So unfortunately, I would say it's good 80% hard work.
Yeah.
There's some people I know are lucky. Yeah, I'd like to be that person.
Okay, well, that's all of my questions.
Cool.
You're on LinkedIn, right? So people can connect with you on there.
Yeah, please do.
Michael Sharp.
It is, yeah. And Automation Robotics Limited.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so just to finish, just a thank you from me. We've known each other for quite a few years. You've always been a good sounding board for me. I remember Actually, I came up with Engineers Insight 2018, 2019, and I sat down with you and Steve, and we fleshed out something
After
on paper.
hours.
After hours, of course, yeah.
Legally, that's what
Yeah. I was employed by someone at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you obviously got a breadth of knowledge and a huge network in industry, and you've been a great sort of connection for me over the years. So thank you,
Tom. Yeah.
Thanks.
I give good advice, but I don't normally take my own.